Okay, so my name is Jamie Newman, and I'd like to welcome you to Wallace State's Virtual Career Fair. Today's workshop is going to be about social networking and social media, primarily using the, uh, the plethora of options on the internet to increase your network and increase your visibility in terms of employers. So we've often used social networking, to connect with family and friends, but there's been a large movement towards using it to connect with employers and recruiters as well. So we're going to talk a lot today about managing that online presence and then utilizing LinkedIn, which I'm a really big fan of. So I'm excited to share that with you. So even prior to COVID, a lot of companies were moving their recruiting efforts online. This is making managing your online presence more important than ever. I don't remember the exact statistic, but it's something like 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn and somewhere between 60 and 70% use it exclusively. So it's really important to have a presence on LinkedIn so that you're capturing all those recruiters. Okay, so let's talk about your existing online presence and some of the steps that you need to take. So first and foremost, the most immediate thing that you can do is get on all of your social networking platforms and change your settings to private. Make them as private as you possibly can. That way you don't have to spend a lot of time scrolling through to see what you posted 10 years ago. Just make sure you're not searchable. I had to do this a long time ago as a therapist just to prevent clients from searching. And I have to say it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's been really nice because it gives you the freedom to still connect with your friends and family, but it kind of helps minimize how visible you are. And we'll talk a little more about that later because just because you're set to private doesn't mean that the stuff that you comment on is private. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You have to still exercise caution. Okay. The next thing that you're going to want to do is Google yourself. I know that sounds kind of funny, but pull up Google, put your full name in, and make sure that the presence that comes up is something that you're proud of or you want to represent. Clean up anything that you can. So shut down old social media sites, check on your old blogs that you may have started and abandoned. I know a lot of folks have created multiple Facebook accounts. Clean all that up so that when people Google you, they come up with what you want them to see, right? There are some cases that you can't clean up everything. So, if you have prior convictions, or someone else took photos of you and posted them, those may be a little more challenging to handle, but see if you can clean up anything that you can. Okay, now you've heard this before, and so I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but be really careful about what you post, send, and text even. It's really easy. I hear a lot of students say, but I did it on Snapchat. It's so easy to screenshot that and share it. So anything that you do electronically is subject to being saved and shared. So, I think it's, important to talk about how you feel about things and your opinions and, just be careful about who you share those with and the medium that you choose to share that with. I have seen email conversations what's that called? Screenshotted, and the same with Snapchat. So just be really careful with what you're sending. And things can be taken out of context. That's another really important piece. Maybe you're having a conversation with someone and a part of the conversation frustrated them and they decided that was the part they were going to focus on. And it's easy to take things out of context. So just be really, really careful with what you're posting and uploading to the internet. Okay, so that brings me back to what I was saying about, minimizing your contact on social media. I'm sure you know this already, but bear with me on this. if you comment on something, other people can see that even if your settings are private. So be really cautious about, how you're presenting yourself. Before there was a lot of social media, I used to coach people about how they acted in public when they're on job searches, and that still remains the same. But now you have to be careful online as well. Um, I can't tell you how many times, and it's kind of strange that it happens so much, that someone would be out in public doing something and then have an interview the next day and see someone they saw in public in the interview. So that's even more possible on the internet. And so you just want to be really careful about how you're presenting, especially during times of job searches. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I was going to mention, so when I was applying for my master's degree, employers aren't the only people that will search for you. That program searched for me. So I had found that they looked me up on LinkedIn, that they tried to find me on Facebook. So again, it's not even necessarily employers that are looking. It could also be if you're applying into school programs. So be very careful around that as well. Okay, but social media isn't all bad. I don't want to get you panicked about it. There's some really useful tools out there that you can take advantage of. And for those of us introverts, where networking can be kind of an anxiety-inducing thing, it's really awesome that there are options online that can increase your presence for employers. So let's talk about LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, cannot recommend it highly enough. I average between 8 and 40 job contacts by recruiters per week. So it's a really great tool if you know how to use it. So in the worksheets that I sent you all out, I gave you kind of a list on how to set up LinkedIn, and it's really detailed. So utilize that checklist. Let me show you my profile. We'll kind of go through some of this if I can do this correctly. There we go. Okay, so this is my LinkedIn profile. The first thing you're going to do is create a profile, right? You want to use a professional headshot, head, shoulders, smile, use teeth. I know that sounds kind of funny. Not everyone likes to smile, but a toothless smile can kind of have an off-putting feel to it. So be sure that you use teeth. Be sure to set up a background photo that sort of reflects your field. There are websites like unsplash.com, depositphotos.com, pexels.com. You want to be sure that you're not using a photo that has royalty requirements. So be very careful not to infringe on any copyright violations. So I'll see a lot of profiles where people put their picture in there and then they didn't put anything in the background. So my background's a little generic, but it's a really great place. I've seen some really creative ones where, people are in computer science and they put, pictures of like resistors and chips and things on their background. So make it applicable to the field that you're interested in. It's kind of like Facebook for employers. So you want to make a good impression and you still want it to be individualized. In your settings, you're going to want to select open to new opportunities. And you can kind of see that here that mine is set open to work. And it tells what fields I'm open to work in, right? Let's see, what next? Another really important thing is to go into settings and change, there's a setting place in there where you can change whether or not your feed sees your updates. You'll want to change that to no. So you don't want it so that every time you go in and put something new that the whole world knows about it. It can be a little overwhelming to see a notification that every time someone is making a change on their profile. So that's really important to change. So you're going to want to set your location to where you want to work. What's different about this from, say, Facebook is you're not just talking about who you are now, you're also talking about who you want to be. So the location is anywhere that you feel like you like to work in. Okay, so this next part is really important, your value statement. So in the resume workshop, there was a worksheet in there about setting a value statement. This is where you're going to talk about who you are as a professional. I highly recommend that you keep it fairly brief, especially if you're entry level. You want to really have meat and not a lot of fluff, if that makes sense. So mine talks very specifically about the kind of diagnoses that I work with adults, that I do groups and individuals. So it's really specific and it doesn't have a whole lot of extra. So that's going to be your next piece. You want to talk about in that about section what you specialize in and what makes you different. So, say you're in a medical field, are you pediatrics, adult, geriatric? Does that make sense? You want to be real honed in so they know what your specialty is. Okay, so another thing that you're going to want to do is look for your ideal job online. What kind of positions are you really excited about? Look for keywords in those job postings and make sure they're in your about section. That way, if a recruiter is searching and they're using those keywords, they'll show up in your profile and you'll show up to them. Okay. Place the title that you're looking for in your title section. So it's going to default to your current position. You want to change it to any variation of the job that you're searching for. So therapists are called lots of different things: mental health counselor, therapist, career counselor. So I put those all in there, and you're going to use that bar to separate them. Get as many in there as applies to you. And if you need help, this is what's great about LinkedIn. You can look for other people in your field and see what they've put in there. So you'll want to upload your full resume, which I have not done, but you'll want to do that. And definitely don't hesitate to apply for jobs. They have a really great board that you can get on, and they will show any jobs kind of related to your job titles. And it's a great way to apply. They'll even tell you how many people have already applied and how long the job has been posted. So this is another great place, in addition to Google and job boards that you may already participate in finding what options are out there. Okay. So one of the things, there's some etiquette around LinkedIn that you may or may not be aware of. One of the first things that I tell people is reply to all recruiters, even if you're not interested. It's polite and it sends the signal that you're still looking, and it's just good manners. It's good practice. So, thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't think it's a perfect fit for me right now, or I'm looking in a different direction. You're going to want to invite people to connect with you on LinkedIn. This is going to be your professional network. And this is that part that was really hard for me initially to do in person. And once I got really good at it with LinkedIn, it got easier in person. And I'll explain a little more about that. A lot of people get jobs from their network. You've probably heard that it's not always what you know, it's who you know. LinkedIn is a great place to kind of start to put your toe in the networking water. You can look up folks who are already connected to you either through school or anything that you've joined, professional organizations. Um, don't connect with them via your app on the phone. The reason for that is it sends a very impersonal note. Would you like to connect with so and so? Now, if you know them really well, I've done this with friends and said, oh, I'm just going to connect with them real quick. That's fine. But if it's someone you don't know personally very well, you'll want to be sure to send a personalized note. So I saw you speak at this conference and I really enjoyed blah, blah, blah. Would you like to connect with me? In my case, mental health therapists will connect with me and say, hey, I see you specialize in these particular diagnoses. I specialize in these. Can we refer to each other? You want to use your actual computer window to do that. Follow companies and professional organizations that are related to your field. I've met a lot of really great folks this way, and they will, the organizations post things that pertain to the field, and that helps you get on the cutting edge and know, where are the rare and valuable skills in my field. LinkedIn will show you those things. Also, there's a place there where you can enter in your skills. You're going to want to ask people to endorse your skills or write you letters of recommendation, and they can do that all on LinkedIn. So that's another reason that LinkedIn is really special, is it's like a resume where other people confirm that you have those skills. So think about that. If you send a paper resume somewhere and you say you have a skill of, say, I don't know, let's pick patient education. And, it's hard for employers to see, do they actually have that skill? Do they just say that? Whereas on LinkedIn, you can say patient education, and then people can endorse it and say, yeah, I worked with them and I've seen them do that. And they do in fact have that skill. So it gives it a little more oomph. So it's really important to both list your skills and endorse other people's skills when you can. It's a great way to provide a professional connection for folks. I would even see if you can add your professors and have them endorse your skills. That's another kind of easy way to put your toe in the water. So networking. Oh, this is always the tough one. People feel so slimy about networking, but it's really, it's not. And I used to think it was kind of this slimy thing where you're only being friends with people so you could get something from them. That's not the case at all. In your worksheets, I included a networking spreadsheet. When you meet people at your internships, your clinicals, out in town even, you'll want to be sure that you get contact information if you meet someone in your field. Let me see if I didn't bring them up here, but on my business cards, so I carry some business cards around, my cards are really plain. They have my name and they say my top 5 skills and my contact information. So when I meet people, I say, these are the things that I'm really good at. If I can ever be of help to you, here's my card. Can I have one of your cards? It's a really easy way to let people know what it is that you're good at and keep them keep you kind of fresh in their memory. So that's a tip that I use for meeting people out in town or at events. And then when I get their contact information, I put their name in this spreadsheet and I write their specialty and the last time I spoke to them and any notes. And then I manage my network the same way I manage any of my work life. Once a month, I check my spreadsheet. When's the last time I spoke to this person? And I reach out and I say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, how are you doing? What have you been up to? Is there anything I can help you with? That way you're not only reaching out to them when you need something. This is really important with references, right? My references have all heard from me within the last month. They come off of my spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet just helps me keep tabs because I'm kind of forgetful about when I spoke to them last. I always, always lead with what can I do for you? A network is a relationship, that's all. And the longer you've had it and the longer you've maintained it, the more it kind of moves into that area where it's more of a friendship. So, like initially, one of my professors was on my networking spreadsheet. Fabulous, talented person. Wrote books and was really published a lot, and I respected her tremendously. And I would check in, and sometimes she would say, "Yeah, do you have time to do this reference sheet for me?" Or, "I've got this paragraph I need written. Here's the research." Absolutely, no problem. And then soon it was, "I'm really busy with my new baby." "Okay, how's your baby doing?" And now we've gotten to the point where I check in regularly, and she asks about my life and I ask about hers, and it becomes more than just someone you contact because you need something. Does that make sense? It's a great way to meet people, and it's a great way to show that you're giving, you're willing to put the work into. You care about your career, and you're managing it just like you would manage any other aspect of your life. So that is networking in a nutshell. It's really just a relationship. And if you're wondering, do I really go out in town and hand out my card? Yes. It was a little awkward at first. I highly advise, it's a really common question for people to say, "It's nice to meet you, what do you do?" And that's the opportunity that you have to say, "Well, I am a mental health therapist and I'm actually looking for work in my field. If you hear of anything, here's my card and let me know if I can ever do anything for you." It's a great way to get to know people, get to know your community, and it can be a lot of fun once you get over the kind of the initial awkwardness. So give it a try. Practice at home, practice with your friends until it feels natural, and utilize that. You'd be amazed what kind of job opportunities can come from your network. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna turn off the recording and see if there are any questions I can answer for you.